Teacher, teach me well. Public education. I'm very pleased, and I'm very short notice, and I appreciate that. Dallas Woodhouse, who is State Director for North Carolina Americans for Prosperity. Thanks again for being with us on the Burt Cohen Show. We got in touch actually to see about having you come on the show, and you graciously agreed to do that. And you wanted to point out that a correction was made in an article in the Huffington Post. And this is what the Huffington Post said. An earlier version of this story about Americans for Prosperity indicated that Americans for Prosperity, quote, bankrolled, unquote, the school board campaign. AFP did not directly provide funding. This reference has been removed, and additional details about AFP and the role of Wake Cares has been added. At whose insistence was this correction made, and why? I mean, clearly bankrolled, I guess, was an offensive term, but did the candidates that Americans for Prosperity wanted to win the Wake County School Board not win?
Well, no, I mean, because there was never a determination by Americans for Prosperity in any way what candidate we wanted to win. And I was not on your program earlier today, so I didn't hear the producer of this political hit piece, but it has been widely discredited by the local newspaper in Raleigh as not just being inaccurate, but made up out of whole cloth. The assertion in the video is that Americans for Prosperity and some of our board members and founders funneled money, an allegation, while they don't say it on the tape, that would be illegal, to campaign and candidates for the Wake County School Board. It is just an absurd notion, and already the producers had to back off of it because it is libelous and untrue.
Well, they have. I don't know if they've.
I mean, and I don't mean to at all be disrespectful, but when it comes to matters of campaign finance and supporting and electioneering, details matter. And the reality is, Americans for Prosperity never made a political donation, never trained a candidate, never selected a candidate, never interviewed a candidate, and didn't put out one piece of mail, radio, television, automated phone call, the things that happened in campaigns. So, I mean, the video produced by these people that have a clear political agenda to drag a certain pair of people through the mud is just made up out of whole cloth.
Well, but the candidates, we all know that it's very easy, real simple defense to say Americans for Prosperity didn't directly fund the campaign. I understand there's, among many different political action groups, you go around the letter of the law. Did AFP follow the letter of the law? Of course, it's easy to do that. Let me finish. You guys have lawyers that can pay attention to all these things.
Right.
But did the candidates you want to win?
But here's the problem, sir.
Okay.
If what you're saying is true, you're saying, oh, well, they can, do it through some other way. It still requires the spending of money.
Yes.
That comes out in some type of direct mail piece,
no,
television ad,
nonsense,
radio ad,
nonsense,
phone call. It requires that there be an end product, which there was not.
Of course there wasn't.
The allegation.
No, you're trying to split hairs here. You know, and I know, and I'm not a fool. I've been in politics for quite a while. Of course, you guys didn't directly give, but you supported Wake Cares on your website. Are you there, Dallas?
Yeah, I'm there.
All right. On your website, on the Americans for Prosperity website, you congratulated the people who supported Wake Cares. You did it. We, the people who are interested in...
Well, now, sir, that is a wholly different issue.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, go ahead. How is it so different?
An activist organization that deals with economic policy, including certain policies that were undertaken by the school board. Thank you.
Like integration. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
But that was 5 or 6 months after the election. And I mean, the key point is they are accusing us of being involved in engineering and being involved with candidates in elections. That is wholly different. than being involved with issues months later after the election. Now, you have been an elected official. You know they're not only not the same, they're not even close.
But they're very close. There's 527s. Maybe not everybody knows about 527s.
I'm not a 527.
No, I understand that.
Deal in the election of candidates.
Why did...
Have you seen the video? The video accuses us doing things very, very specific. If the argument is that our organization
was successful,
did not support the policies of the previous board, and once a new board was installed, we advocated to stop wasting money, stop putting families on different schedules. That is true, but that has nothing to do with the elections, and it says something that the producer of the film is now making an argument about our involvement that was not made in the film. If the argument is that we helped set the table in previous years by opposing policy, well, that's what we do.
Well, let me ask you...
Nothing to do with the election of candidates. As a matter of fact, we had nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, the reality is the people here in Wake County rejected the policies and made a change in the ballot box. It's no more simple than that. And when you have a video that stamps support over a candidate's name and relates it to a particular company where there is no indication that anybody ever sent any money in any way or did anything, it is not just fictitious, it is libelous, and that's the problem.
And we're hearing a term here that I'm reminded of Ron Ziegler for the White House, the Nixon White House. It's called plausible deniability. We understand that.
Sir,
Let me ask you this.
Because you won't have an honest conversation with me.
No, I will. I understand. You can deny it. And legally, you're not. Legally, I'm sure you're fully protected. You guys can. I mean, let's face it. The Koch
It's not just a matter of legal. It is a matter of...
Did you not support resegregation,
these
sir?
activities took place.
Did you...
Don't you agree that if somebody is accused of buying an election, that there has to be some evidence that some type of activity took place?
Yes, of course.
Some type of activity.
And it's called
campaigning, electioneering communication. There has to be some...
You guys are smart guys. You know how to do that and get around. It's not difficult to do. You know, the money can be spent.
And we did it and got around it. What I'm saying is it was never done, period.
Well, then how is it that your campaign side brags about doing it? I mean, give me a break here.
We bragged about fighting on a policy issue 6 months after an election.
Okay.
It's not the same thing.
Did Art Pope of your campaign, the AFP, not give money, not contribute money to the candidates who were in favor of resegregation?
Well, first of all, it is just absolutely offensive.
It is.
For somebody to talk about resegregation. I mean, that is just a myth. It is untrue. And it's, I know you're, I mean, you know, I know that you've been involved with disputes with the law. And the way it works in the South, when people have...
I helped make the law,
they
sir.
were segregated at the barrel of a gun.
Yes.
Nobody's putting a gun in anybody's face and telling people they can't go to schools. The idea was that we had a failed diversity policy that was having no academic result, and the voters decided they wanted to let their kids go closer to schools. They are not segregated. They will never be segregated. It's against federal law to segregate. That's just crazy. You
wanted to end forced busing. You wanted to reinstate neighborhood schools. This was the same language that George Corley Wallace used, and I can understand being defensive about that.
You can say that, but the
are you not for
segregation has a very distinct meaning, and schools were segregated at the barrel of gun.
Oh, I see.
Now, number two, it is true we were against the busing policy.
Yes,
it is true. We did it. We were against it because it failed demonstrably academically, provided no academic benefit, and it also caused all kinds of havoc in the lives of parents and students in Wake County, including breaking up families and making them go on vastly different calendars to school, where one kid goes in the summer and another doesn't, and another kid goes to a completely different time. It created utter havoc in this county, and that havoc got a lot worse, quite frankly, over time as the system grew. Now, again, you brought up somebody else's name a few minutes ago, who is an individual,
yes,
and he can donate to whatever political candidate he wants to.
Of course, that's how it's
done. That's not my organization, and again, that is not what the film alleges. If you want to attack us for our positions on free market issues, I welcome that, and I welcome the debate. But it ought to be about what we did, not what we didn't do. And to your assertion that the absence of proof is proof itself is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, nobody ever said that, sir, and you know that. Now, when you say that, I'm curious. I'm rather astounded that you define segregation. It can only be segregation if it comes through the barrel of a gun. That's shocking to hear anybody say that. I mean, there have been Jim Crow laws in the past.
Was that not the context of George Wallace?
No,
that
sir.
he had armed guards out forcing the segregation of schools, and then the National Guard had to be brought in?
That's fascinating. So that it can only if there's no barrel of the gun, if there's no change in policy ending integration, which had been clearly, by every measure, a successful national model for diversity.
Well, first of all, let me just tell you this.
Yeah.
There is great disagreement in the community on that.
Yes.
Let's just take the policy itself. It is true that the New York Times and a couple of other people have written articles praising the now discredited policy. That is true. But the fact that the New York Times or some other non-North Carolina media outlet says something good about it does not mean that the voters and the people who are participating in it think it's a great idea. There is a huge myth that has been created that this was a popular policy that everybody loved and believed worked. Because I could sit here and talk about the data, how African American and Hispanic children, unfortunately, in Wake County, way underperform their counterparts down the road in Charlotte. They way underperform. I mean, we're not doing anything. The reality is the former school board was taking our lovely, beautiful minority children and was finding a way to hide them in the system and not educate them. And it was a travesty. The educational outcomes were a travesty. And the voters made a decision. If you have an argument that the voters were wrong, take it up with them. But I, as an organization and a person, am not going to stand by and allow a maker of a political hit piece to just say all kinds of lies and allegations and quotes in the video say we funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars to candidates is a complete lie, and it should discredit any other parts of the video because that's the linchpin of it, and it's complete fabrication.
Well, Wake Cares. Look, I mean, of course there's going to be disagreement with policy. We're still a democracy.
Wake Cares is an organization that started as an opposition force to forced mandatory year-round schools, where the school system took families and said, against your will, you're going to start going to school all year long against your will. And it wasn't done to everybody. It was done in just certain parts of the county. It was very unfair. Wake Cares sued over the issue in state court, and 3 years before this election, we helped fund that lawsuit. 3 years. If that isn't the most tangential relationship, I can't really understand.
Well, it's consistent.
Like you wouldn't just tell the truth. You don't really like a group like Americans for Prosperity that works on limited government free market issues. That's fine, but let's be honest about it. Let's not accuse us of things we didn't do.
Well, on your website, you brag about it. My goodness, how can you
brag about defeating the policy?
There you go.
That defeating policy is different than the election and selection of candidates? Because the federal government would disagree with you.
Well,
the state government would disagree with you. Federal IRS policy would disagree with you. And not only that, the important thing is we were not involved anywhere near any time nearing the time these people were running for office.
So you were interested.
The truth is, I was spending all my time trying to beat President Obama's disastrous health care plan. We were not involved whatsoever.
No, I'm not surprised. We're talking on the Burt Cohen Show with Dallas Woodhouse, North Carolina State Director for Americans for Prosperity. And
I want to ask you,
you changed the policy.
You have this film producer on, and his argument about that we helped set the table by opposing policies in the previous years is a completely different argument than he actually puts forward in the video. Does that bother you?
And supporting a policy, being proud to support a policy that made the change to end successful segregation. You're right, sir. That does bother me. That's, I mean,
Right.
did you not want to
That's
change
not
that policy? Do you favor
that
resegregation?
The producer of the video is making a claim to you and on your radio program and in print now that totally is opposite of what the video said.
Do you favor resegregation?
What? Absolutely not. And nobody's going to be resegregated here. And the truth of it is, in modern day Raleigh, North Carolina, our housing patterns are very desegregated. You know, we do not have vastly white and African American neighborhoods. I mean, you know, I'm standing in my front yard there in suburban Wake County, and I can look up down here and see families of all races and creeds. You know, I mean, you know, I absolutely do not support a policy that would ever judge somebody based on their race and on their race decide where they can go to school. What I support are parents being empowered to send their kid to a charter school if they want, to a parochial, I mean, I'm talking broadly speaking here, a parochial school or a private school funded with a tax credit, or to go to their local neighborhood school, or if they choose to go to a local magnet school. I want the parent to choose. I'm about choice.
So
absolutely, we have never favored any kind of race-based policy.
Well, if it's a neighborhood school, which is a term that has been used down there, and, you know, if it's happens to be one is largely white, middle class, upper class, you know, you're going to attract, you can pay better,
That even under that plan, anybody from any part of the county would have a right to apply to a school that was out of their area, and a certain amount of slots would be left open for those people to be taken in.
Yeah, it would make it a lot more difficult.
You know, we're not ever really talking about going to a neighborhood model, because there would always be the opportunity for people to come in from other places in the county due to whether it's a certain academic program, due to whether it's convenient for the parent,
right,
due to, you know, I mean, there's actually a lot we would agree on that we can do to improve education and outcomes. What I think is the shame is that,
right,
and I really believe this, that what we have been doing before this was not trying to adequately educate our minority population and our students that needed extra help. We were just busting them around and hiding them. I mean, that's really what they were doing, and it was really a travesty to those people.
Well, what do you say to that kid? There was that black kid in the video, who I'm sure you've seen the video, who says that he was getting a good education, he was doing well, he was making a lot of friends, and now since he's going to go to, frankly, a neighborhood school, you know, they can't attract as good teachers, they can't pay as well, and his education will suffer. What do you say to that kid?
Well, I mean, what he asserts in the video hasn't even taken place yet, so I think, quite frankly, I think the video writer handed them a script, is what I think. I mean, I still think there's no evidence to back that up. You know, I mean, but I can tell you this, I have no interest in doing anything to that kid but empowering his parents to make sure that he gets a good education, whether it be in where he lives or somewhere else. And I do not believe that anything in these policies we've advocated would keep him from going to the school he wanted to go to. I mean, that's kind of in the weeds, but it's a true statement.
Well, I understand that. Now, as part of the release that was sent to me...
And I want to point out, I don't know if you saw the retraction yesterday, but I think
yes,
it is important to mention that the Democrat consultant who ran the campaigns for the 4 defeated school board candidates who, while we run nonpartisan, they were supported by the Democrat Party, the 4 guys that lost, their campaign consultant, who doesn't like our politics and doesn't like everything we do, but he did come out and say, in no way did Americans for Prosperity and the other people accused in that film have anything to do with the election. And that's an important retraction.
Well, yeah, one can, I mean, we know legalese here. I mean, you can say for sure the AFP didn't directly, the Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brothers, whatever, didn't directly support specific candidates. That's clear, it's easy, it's plausible deniability. And the focus of AFP...
Okay, so if it's plausible deniability, what are we denying? I'm trying to figure out what is it, if we didn't do that, what did we...
Did you support... we have here the candidates that were endorsed by Wake Cares, which has opposed the county's busing and integration policy. received no financial support from any activist group funded in part by the Koch brothers?
I mean, I think I dealt with this Wake Cares thing. We funded a lawsuit 3 years before.
Right.
You know, what your allegation to make there would require, I mean, it just stretches. I mean, and of course, the lawsuit's a matter of public record. Our involvement's a matter of public record. And again, I would remind you that that issue with Wake Cares was not in the video. This is a new line of attack on us.
Well, let me ask you this.
I mean, I'm telling you the truth.
Let me ask you this. You, when we got in touch, you emailed me this direct quote. We have pending legal action against the producers. Now, clearly no legal action has been taken yet. I'm not sure what the legal grounds could be. What was your purpose?
I mean, the obvious legal grounds would be libel.
Why did you email me that?
Because they said...
What was your purpose?
Funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars to the election of candidates, and it's a lie, and it's a very serious lie.
Now, why did you email me? Why did you find it necessary to email me, quote, we have pending legal action against the producers? What was your purpose in sending me that?
I think I addressed this with you on email.
Yes.
You requested an interview.
Yes.
And I thought you ought to know that the facts in this film are in great dispute. I've obviously come on your program.
Yeah.
You're free to talk about whatever you want.
I know, I appreciate it.
Don't make me out to be some anti-press guy. I spent 10 years as a journalist.
Uh-huh.
I've just told you the facts.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I'm not intimidated by it. Let me ask you this.
Well, did I attempt to intimidate? Did I call you and say you shouldn't be on this program?
Well, what would the purpose be in telling me I have legal action? I don't care. You know, I know that I can say that. I said, okay, we have pending legal action. They could tell me that too. Let me ask you this.
Is that you don't care about the facts.
Oh.
I mean, it'd be nice if you cared about the actual facts.
We've gone through the facts here.
Your program and run me down.
No, I'm sorry you take it personally.
Opposition to.
I am against resegregation, sir.
Healthcare plan. I am very upfront, and we are very upfront about the positions we take and the things we do. We just don't want to be accused of things we don't do.
You support resegregation, sir, and you know it.
About things we actually do.
You actively support resegregation, sir, and you know it. Let me ask you this. We have just a couple minutes left. We support
don't support resegregation, but go ahead.
You say we support free market issues. What does free market issues mean in terms of public education matters? What does that mean?
Well, it means a broad variety of things that are not all necessarily related to the topic here, but it includes things like competition in education, whether it be through charter schools, whether it be through tax credits. We helped pass a bill in North Carolina
on education
in this new legislature that gave a tax credit to special needs children, that if their parents determine that their special needs or they're autistic or whatever are not getting met in the public school system, they can use a tax credit to go to a private school that meets their needs. We support raising the cap on charter schools, which we did, and we support in Wake County parents having the option to pick the calendar their kid is on, whether it be year-round or traditional, to be able to have the option to go to a magnet school if they want to go to their neighborhood school or to not go to their neighborhood school.
It's maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds to me like you want to weaken public education, that this is not a priority. Public education is something that should not be supported much more, that it should be weakened and defunded. Is this not correct? And resegregating public schools, neighborhood schools helps.
I think what I would say is we view public education differently. What I would like to see are better options to educate the public. If public education only means going to the school that a bureaucrat from the county office tells me I have to go and what time I have to be there and what the subjects are going to be for my child, if you want to, I want to weaken that system because I want to empower parents, competition, choice, and enterprise.
Well, you heard it here, listeners, what free market issues means in terms of public education matters. The start has begun.
I wish we could have had a great debate about that because you would have run me down and you wouldn't have lost my positions, but at least they would be positions I hold
Well, you made it clear.
I'm accused of and didn't do in that video.
You were very succinct right now, Dallas, and I appreciate that. And this is the start of an assault on public education, and I understand that, and it's good to be prepared. As the Boy Scout said, be prepared. And now we know. I very much appreciate
on that. It doesn't do me. I have 2 young children. It doesn't do me or anybody in my organization around to have an education system that's a failure.
I agree,
we don't benefit by having a bunch of non-educated children. So that's sort of, I think.
But you have the resources, probably.
Public discourse for me to accept that your intentions are good, that you believe a certain way of educating people is good, and my intentions are good. And we can fight on the merits,
right,
not on intentions.
It's still a democracy so far. It is if we protect it. Thank you very much. And again, this was very short notice. Dallas Woodhouse, Americans for Prosperity, State Director of North Carolina. And if people are interested in contacting your website, what would the website be?
It's afpnc.org.
afpnc.org. Thank you very much for being with us again on The Burt Cohen Show. Very lively. Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right, you too.
I'm sick and tired of hearing things